Right, how's everyone doing? Good, I hope. I want to talk about the Sega 32X, right? Now, the Sega 32X, I'm sure most people know what it is, but for those who don't know what it is, the Sega 32X was a 32-bit add-on that Sega made for the Sega Mega Drive, it plugged into the top of it plugged into the cartridge slot of the Sega Mega Drive, and it looked sort of like a mushroom. The Sega 32X it had its own library of 32-bit cartridges, but it could also play Sega Mega Drive cartridges, So, Sega brought this out to boost the power of the Sega Mega Drive. That's what it was meant to do. But the thing is, the Sega 32X was a huge failure for Sega. And because of the Sega 32X and what it did, Sega are no longer a hardware manufacturer, because it did so much damage to Sega. They lost so much money because of the Sega 32X. The Sega 32X, you see, the thing is, right, Sega had a reputation of bringing out a console, and then 2 years later they discontinue it. Then to bring out a new console, they discontinue with that. So they kept boring people instead of doing what Nintendo does. See, Nintendo brings out a system and they stick with it for a few years, not just 1 or 2 years. They stick with it a few years if it's good or bad, and then they move on. But with Sega, first they brought out the Mega CD, and because that wasn't doing too well, they said, right, we're going to bring out the 32X. And then they brought out the Saturn. All within the space of 5 years, they brought out the Mega CD, the 32X, and the Sega Saturn, right? So people lost faith in Sega because they weren't supporting these systems. They were dropping them, because these things were expensive, and people felt like they just wasted their money on something that Sega promised was going to be their next generation system. But like I said, they dropped it, and then the Sega Saturn comes out late 1994, early 1995. So the Sega 32X bit the dust. But because people had a bad taste in their mouths from what happened with the Mega CD, which cost £200, then the Sega 32X was cost 150, and then the Sega Saturn was cost 500, and then in 1998 Sega dropped the Sega Saturn because that wasn't selling either, because Sega pissed off their customers and they pissed them off. That's it, And like I said, instead of just sticking with the Mega Drive on its own for 5-6 years, then bring out the Sega Saturn. In my opinion, that's what Sega should have done. But they didn't do that, right? They brought out, like I said, the Mega CD, which was a CD-based add-on for the Mega Drive, but it had shitty FMV games, which are full motion video games. Like I said, the Mega CD was nearly £200. You could play music CDs, but the games on it weren't good enough, and no one was willing to shell out £200 for an add-on with shitty FMV games. Plus, you had to have a separate power supply. It wasn't worth it. Whereas the Super Nintendo was out, you didn't have to buy an add-on. Because it had the FX chip. So, but the Super Nintendo had better games. So along comes the 32X, 32-bit add-on. But like I said, the games on it are mediocre. Trying to connect to 32X takes a long time. It has its own power supply and a patch cable and a video out cable to the television. But it was the price and the fact that Sega didn't support it, because they had the Sega Saturn coming out at the same time. So, Sega, like I said, the Mega CD wasn't selling, the 32X wasn't selling. And now Sega brings out the Saturn, which didn't sell as. So, the Sega 32X was the one that started this whole thing, It's such a shame, really, Sega just wouldn't listen, look, I said, don't support these systems. Lots of people spending that much money on them, and it's just a shame, you know. But if Sega hadn't brought out the 32X, I say Sega would probably still around today as a hardware manufacturer. The Sega Dreamcast was Sega's last system in 2001. It did very well, but Sega just ran out of money, and that was it, like, you know. So that's it, like, you know. For the Sega 32X, it's just a terrible system. It's just I wasn't worth people's time, but people thought, because Sega said, yeah, this is our next generation system, and people got the impression, oh yeah, Sega are going to stick around for a long time with this system. No, they didn't. No. So yeah, I just want like a quick video about that, like, you know. And yeah, it's such a shame, you know, that happened, you know. But yeah. So anyway, the Atari VCS, you know, we can play on the Sega 32X games if I want to, and it's not that many, like, you know. I think there's less than 30 Sega 32X games. So, you know, the thing, but it's awesome that we can do that if I want to. But the only game I think that's worth playing on the Sega 32X is Doom. But Doom was rushed. There's a whole episode missing. Yeah, you're still paying full price for Doom back then, which would have been 45 to 50 quid for an incomplete game. You know, the Sega 32X had shitty sound. You know, so you ask the people to pay $150 for this Sega 32X, right? You use its own power supply. You had to use a patch cable between the 32X and the Sega Mega Drive. It sits in the Mega Drive cartridge slot. It only has less than 30 games, and a lot of bad sound effects, and Doom ran in a small little box, and things were just rushed. Yeah, yes, the game runs well, but if the whole game isn't there, I mean, what's the point? You know what I mean? Like, you know, and then, like I said, early '95, it was finished. Sega brings out the Saturn, and people said, "What the fuck is this?" You're asking me to spend 500 quid. That's how much the Sega Saturn cost when it came out. People said, "You're asking me to pay 500 quid for the Sega Saturn, and I'm just after getting the Sega 32X, like, you know." So I don't know. Now Atari had a similar sort of thing, you know, that Sega had. They kept releasing system after system, and not fully supporting these systems and dropping them and burning people. Similar sort of thing. But at least, in my opinion, it all depends on what games you like, you know. But in my opinion, the Atari Lynx, for example, even though that was a failure for Atari, I think it has a better game library than the Sega 32X, and it has more games. But the Lynx failed because it was too expensive. It ate your batteries alive, and this thing's meant to be a portable, but this thing is fucking huge. Yes, it has a colour screen, and the games on it are good in my opinion, but again, it's the price, too expensive, and Atari dropped it. It came out in 1989, people was finished by 1991, so similar sort of thing that Sega was doing. And then Atari brings out the Atari Jaguar in 1993, overpriced once again. Yes, 60. It's meant to be 64-bit console, the Atari Jaguar, and the games on it just don't look 64-bit. Okay, there are exceptions like Doom, Alien vs Predator on the Jaguar actually look like something like a 64-bit system, but the rest of the games don't. And like I said, they're asking people to pay more for the Atari Jaguar for games that look mediocre. And a system that's meant to be 64-bit. But that's the whole problem with the Atari Jaguar, mediocre games. But there are a few good games. Like in my opinion, on the Atari Jaguar, Doom, Alien vs Predator, Wolfenstein 3D is good on the Atari Jaguar. Super Burnout was good, in my opinion. That's about it. But these games are very expensive, you know what I mean? But thanks to the Atari VCS, I can play all these games, you know, without shelling out that much money for them on eBay. Because that's how I got these systems back in the day on eBay. Like the Sega 32X, the Mega CD, and the Atari Jaguar and the Atari Lynx. Because shops out this way weren't selling that stuff. So the only place I could get it was eBay. And I paid a lot of money at the time. And, you know, now if I'd have known that the Atari VCS was going to come out, well, this was like 10 to 15 years ago. I wasn't going to wait all that length to see if the Atari VCS would happen. But if someone had gotten a time machine, went back to 1989 and said, John, about 30 years from now, 35, 40 years from now, Atari's going to bring out a system called the Atari VCS that can play all those systems that you just have to waste your money on. So don't get it, but I couldn't wait 30 years, like, you know. But that's just a bit of gaming history for you. The Sega 32X came out, it destroyed Sega, and it's just a terrible console, add-on in my opinion. So anyway, yeah, like I could say this, the Atari VCS is about to outlive the Sega 32X, you know, which is a good thing in my opinion. So anyway, I'm just gonna make a quick video about that. Take care and bye bye.